Thinking about the big picture of medical technology, and the reason that the Midwest and Minnesota became a hub for medical technology industry was because the people who were inventing the medical technology, lots of times the clinicians, had very close ties with those companies and started those companies and developed the medical technology industry really in Minnesota. We have moved to more separate kind of camps. And we want to make sure that we continue to have a medical technology industry that's thriving as well as a very strong and innovative delivery system. So I'd like to ask each of you just to think at a very high level, if you could erase the chalkboard and design a system that would lead us to a way of being where we have a strong and thriving medical technology industry, where we are the strongest leader in healthcare design and innovation, and where we have the lowest cost, what would the relationships between the three sectors look like? What should be the design of that model? If we could just wipe it clean, how would we invent? How would we take to market products? How would we be delivering care? And how would we be paying for it? So I know this is kind of a big question. And if you could answer it, you wouldn't be sitting here. But anyway, why don't we start in the middle here with Dr. Moen, just thinking about what would it look like?
Well, what I think is our strategies are probably quite aligned, but we don't know what each other's strategies are. And as we've gotten further into dialogue with partners across the industry, it seems that we're all trying to do the same thing, but we aren't talking about what we're trying to do or figuring out how to help each other. And there's lots of things that the health plan, for instance, knows and does that maybe we should know and do, but they need to help us understand how to do that well. There's some things that we do that might be better done in the device sector. And the real challenge is how do we begin to understand strategically where we're trying to go, which I think is to a sustainable healthcare system that provides more value. But instead of having a sales and marketing relationship be the primary way that we interact, we should be interacting at a much more strategic level with regard to how we leverage this community's penchant for innovation, this community's willingness to collaborate, this community's history of growth in the device sector, of high-quality delivery systems and nonprofit health plans to really drive a different equation together. And I think the time is now, and as I've gotten to know my partners in other parts of the industry, we find out many of us are actually physicians all trying to do the same thing, or nurses all trying to do the same thing, or business people all trying to do the same thing. So I think there's tremendous opportunity for cross-pollination. We're already seeing that. It does force us all to actually take an honest look at the fact that the pie is going to shrink. And we can't keep building business cases about the pie getting bigger. We need to have the business cases be about shrinking the pie. So some of the return on investment expectations may need to be adapted to that reality. But collectively, I firmly believe and know there's tremendous waste in our system today. It has to do with clinical variation, in other words, the variability in decision-making. It also has to do with the lack of patient engagement and understanding of how our system works and what really good care looks like. So I think there's tremendous opportunity to leverage, not only in this community, but more broadly, the collaborative nature of what we're all trying to, or force more collaboration around what we're all trying to strategically accomplish.
Okay. Dr. Samitt, your comments, and if you feel free to throw in any ideas of what you think the medical technology industry ought to be doing that they're not doing today. I mean, we know what you're doing, and things that you'd like to see all payers do.
Yeah, I won't be bashful about that. Okay. I've already alluded to what the providers and the health plans need to do. Most specifically, the health plans need to be focused less on reserves, have to spend more of the premium dollar on care delivery, and really need to invest in incentives and data to help providers. Providers need to be willing to change their business model. I've spent my whole career persuading physicians to change their behavior. Now is the time. And the provider community, hospitals and doctors need to really embrace that. But I wanted to comment most, because I'm sure that's what you want to hear about medical device. I think there are things that we want medical device to do and things that we don't want medical device to do. I'll start with what we don't want. I met with a very large pharma company just a few months ago, and what we don't want is we don't want Me Too solutions. We don't want solutions that cost more but deliver no greater value to the consumer than we have today. So something that has equal quality and costs more is not something we would consider. In fact, we've concentrated very much on eliminating those things from our prescribing portfolio. If an organization is going to come to us to sell a new product, we are going to scrutinize to a tremendous degree, especially as the provider and health plan communities consolidate. We're going to be very critical and will want proof. And I know proof costs money, your money. But we will want proof that that new solution is really effective before we will ask or allow our providers and our health plans to prescribe it or to select it. So that's what we don't want. What we do want is we do want help. There is so much talent in the medical device field that can help us create solutions to problems that we can't solve ourselves. So the question is how do we innovate in care delivery? You know, I think that frankly, medical device, your competition is not amongst yourselves. Medical devices competition is to other more expensive care delivery options. So from my point of view, I'd rather spend a lot more money on medical device than hospitalizing patients or spending a lot of money on specialty services. If there are medical device solutions that help us maximize quality and reduce the total cost of care, including the cost of the medical device, I'd rather spend my money there. So I think what we need from you is innovation. As we envision a world that's truly accountable, what role does medical device play and how would you invest that would raise the quality of care we deliver and reduce the total cost of care?
Exactly. So if you're in the medical technology industry and you haven't gone to school yet on accountable care organizations and what you need to do to make a difference in healthcare delivery in the accountable care world, today's the day to get started on that journey, because that's what it's going to be totally about. How do you capture the attention of delivery systems, CEOs and chief medical officers and care delivery leaders? It's by showing them how your device, how your medication, how your whatever will help them provide better care, better experience for the patient, further upstream, and reduce that overall cost. So, Dr. Kuntz, your vision for the future?
Yeah, just to amplify the other two comments, which I think are excellent, is that the prospect for medical devices, I think, is still great. The previous models that most of us grew up on, I think, in this arena, especially in this state in the last 20 or 30 years, probably did depend on a growing pie. But now the rules have changed. There's no question that we need to bend the cost curve and actually lower the cost curve of healthcare. But the headroom for devices is still large. The opportunity for growth is still great. Medical devices is still a small fragment of the overall healthcare cost. So even with a shrinking pie, the opportunities to help shrink that pie more efficiently by coming up with innovative solutions, I think, is fantastic, first of all. So this has to be a motivator, because innovation doesn't work without growth. The second thing is, in looking at the ecosystem of how we can optimize further, we have to have better relationships with all of the stakeholders, including physicians. And that relationship has not been optimum when it was just limited to sales and marketing, for example. We need to have innovation. Nobody knows better about the needs for solutions that we can all provide than the caregivers at the bedside, the providers at the bedside, caregivers as well at home. We need to engage them in a way that reduces the appearance and also the true aspects of conflicts of interest. We spent a lot of time in the last 3 or 4 years trying to navigate and also develop a system of transparency and management of conflicts that allows the proper interaction physicians with designers and engineers to understand what the needs are that we can try to solve from a technology perspective. That has to be the life engine of how we go forward. So the notion is better management of conflict of interest going forward. The removal of designers on the physician side from the actual application to clinical studies is a critical component. We can't have the fox guard the hen house, for example. So I could go through a lot of different lists of proper approaches that are taken to try to allow for better relationships and collaborations that, when you think about the patient first, doesn't interfere with the dispassionate, objective decision-making at the patient level that removes the conflict from the physician involved. So again, focusing as a physician as a caregiver and also as a physician as innovator to interact with us is something we still have to navigate forward and to optimize this model. But I just want to end with the notion that while there is a need to shrink the pie, while there's a need to bend the cost-care curve, we have to think about how we can provide solutions for that, and that's actually the innovative growth opportunity.
All right. Thank you very much. Time check. Are we ready to wrap? Okay, any last comments or rebuttals to that? No? If not, we're going to please join me. Oh, excuse me. Go ahead.
What's that?
David, did you want to comment? Dr. Moen?
No.
No. Okay. All right. Then I'd like you just to join me in thanking the group very much, Dr. Kuntz, Dr. Moen, Dr. Samitt. Thanks for being with us today, and I'm sure there'll be people in the audience who have questions for you as you disperse.